So you have an idea of your problem or a solution, but you want to brainstorm at it from a new angle. Then the checklist method is just for you. My name's Chris, and in this video I'm going to share how to go through the checklist method and some of the sample questions that you can put on your checklist to help you get started in thinking of a problem or a solution from that new angle. This channel is all about sharing the sorts of tools and processes that I've used to sort through complex problems, to come up with solutions to those complex problems, define them, and communicate them to others. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, hit subscribe. Otherwise, stick around and we'll run through the checklist method. So the checklist method works great when you already have an idea of your problem or your solution. If you want to come up with something from scratch, there are other brainstorming methods I'd recommend, and I've left some links to those in the description below. But checklist method is great if you already have a solution in mind or you have a well-defined problem. So after knowing what your solution or problem is, then come up with the questions that will sit on your checklist, then run through those checklist items with the problem or solution in mind. It's designed to get you to think about this from another angle and to come up with something that you might not have seen before. So I did a bit of hunting on some of the good questions to ask before putting this video together. And I've got up here on the screen a series of points or questions, 6 of them that can be asked to think about your problem or solution from a different angle. So these are, how do we modify the solution? What sort of changes can we make to it? Can we pull part out of it and then modify that part and put it back in? And what happens? What does that do to the solution? Can we magnify our solution? What if we just made our solution bigger? What would that mean to the problem? Can we minimize our solution? What if we made it all smaller, made everything much smaller? What would that do instead? Can we take out part of our solution and substitute it for something else? Or can we rearrange those components to perhaps achieve something better or achieve something different? Or can we bring in new components and combine them into a new solution? My background comes from a lot of consulting and engineering work in trains, transporting people by rail. And so that's what I take through, running through this checklist process, using the sorts of thought process that I have, the sort of thought patterns that I have. So at the core of railway is transporting people. So if we call our solution transporting people, this is example of how I'd apply this, then we can ask ourselves what sort of run through the checklist on this solution of transporting people. So transporting people by rail, of course. So how do we modify a train system to come up with something new? So a train system is basically, you buy a ticket, you get on the train takes you to the next destination, you get off and you're there and happy. So how can we modify some of that system to come up with a new idea? So that's a solution to transporting people. What sort of modification can we make? Can we add seats to the train to make it more comfortable for people? Can we remove seats from the train to transport more people? So some of the modifications that we can make to that. So the second question to ask, how can we magnify that solution? How do we make it bigger? Could the train stations be bigger? Could the trains themselves be bigger? What if we used a longer train? Would we transport more people? Would it be more comfortable for people? Would it work overall? There are challenges, of course, with using bigger trains. And the same for minimize. What if we minimized all our solution? What if we minimized everything here? We use smaller trains. Perhaps they run more frequently. They carry less people. There's more space between people in the train. People might feel more comfortable. What's involved with minimizing our solution? We could have smaller stations that served more people more often. Different ways of thinking about it. This is all an interesting brainstorming method for me. I'm not used to the checklist method myself. I've been trying to explore a new solution for air conditioning at a train station that we're trying to design, and as a group of engineers we're trying to come up with some new solutions to help our client evaluate what the best alternatives are to air conditioning at a train station. And it's a pretty straightforward task, right? Cooling down a train station. So to really drive innovation there, we need these different brainstorming methods to come up with. So if you're interested in different brainstorming methods, follow along. But otherwise, substitute. Substitute is the next one we're looking at, where take the different components of our system. We've got buying a ticket, we've got getting on the train, we've got the train station. What if we substitute some of that? So what if instead of buying a ticket, you just walked onto the train station and your mobile phone was automatically charged, for example? What if I can't think. Oh, what if we substituted the whole solution? What if we got rid of the train entirely and used a bus or car or aeroplane or helicopter or something else to transport people around? So substitute doesn't. I know in the picture here I've substituted one particular item, but substitution could be a substitution for the whole solution. So in our case, the problem is people needing transport. Our solution is about transporting people. It doesn't have to be by train. So these questions are really designed to be as big or as small as you like, designed to get you thinking about different ways to look at your problem and your solution. So that's why I like this method, that it really gets you to think about it in a different way. And the meaning of these questions can be anything you want it to be. So rearrange being the next one. So what if we rearrange different parts of the system? What if we rearrange the different components and see what happens? So ticketing, for example, what if there was no ticket at the station? You just got on the train first and there was a ticket for you to buy once you were on the train. So rearrange different ways to think about it, and then to combine different parts as well. So bring new things in and see what that does to the solution. So what if there was an easy way to get catch the bus and then get from the bus to the train? Or what if it was a train that served an airport? Is there an easy way for the passengers to get down? They've probably got luggage at the same time. So to combine different parts of a solution into the one that you're thinking of, a different way to solve the problem. So that's an example of how to use the checklist brainstorming method, but the basics of it are to define your solution or problem. It can be a very loose definition, and then to walk through a checklist of questions to see if you can look at that solution or problem from a different angle. By keeping the same checklist, by keeping it consistent, you can also compare the different solutions. So if you came up with one set of solutions to the problem and then a second set of solutions, well, what if you went through this checklist process and compared the outputs, compared the different angles of thinking about it? So these are some of the questions that I found helpful in the checklist process to modify, to see what parts of your solution can be modified, can be made bigger or smaller, can be substituted or rearranged, or have other things combined with them or combined in a different way to see if there's a different way of looking at that solution or problem. I like to share these sorts of brainstorming methods as the way to start coming up with new ways to solve problems, new ways to solve complexity and the sorts of problems you're looking at work. I also share on this video about share on this channel about how to define those solutions and how to communicate those solutions to other people. So if you're interested in that sort of information, or you're interested in more tools and processes like this, please hit subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.